Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to talk about what I'm seeing as the ideologue narrative right now, especially among these woke kind of ideologues, and how I see that we're just allowing it, how I see we're even in fact encouraging it. Now the narrative, the structures around it, the nature of it is nothing new. But it is being pushed in a very stringent and specific way right now in terms of our story and our mythologies, by the filmmakers, writers, and so forth. That's nothing new either, but it's something that I think deserves comment on with recent news stories and whatnot. A few things. Don't comment until you've watched to the end of the video. That thumbnail's got you all kinds of triggered. Just wait. It might not be as bad as you think. The other thing is, I'm talking about ideologues, leftist extremist ideologues. I'm not talking about somebody who just has leftist politics or happens to be a Democrat or whatever. I'm not making any secret of the fact that I have more conservative politics, but the point is not to be an ideologue, to be able to conceive of a well-meaning, educated, well-informed person who actually disagrees with you. If you can't do that, then you're an ideologue. All right, because this is one thing we're seeing with a lot of this sort of woke ideology, is that everybody who disagrees with them is either ignorant or evil. Those are the only two options. If you don't agree with us, then we need to educate you, and if you resist, then you're evil, and you need to be canceled. That's that ideology. Now, it's I guess the first time I kind of really became aware of it was during the George W. Bush years. And this is what it does to them, and this is what they do in popular culture. Okay, your average person who doesn't hold Bush's politics. I didn't really agree with everything he's doing either, but, certainly agree with him more than other people or whatever. But anyway, if you don't agree with George Bush's politics, then you certainly didn't want him to win a second term. Okay, so I'm not talking about anybody who just fought for him not to win a second term or just, disagree with him. I mean, I was certainly fighting his policies, the ones that I didn't like. But when George Bush won that second term, Hollywood was just absolutely flabbergasted. How did this happen? We were very clear on telling you people who to vote for. How did this happen? And the reason they were so, and you saw that again, you probably were even thinking when Trump won the election. Remember? Hollywood was, how did this happen? They just, could not believe it, because and the reason they're find it so hard to accept is because in their mind, those people who disagree with them are just that fringe minority. They're that fringe minority idiots out there. Surely most people either agree with us or are level-headed enough to be educated into what we're saying, and you see that over and over again. One of it's a real arrogance to these ideologies. I've got some examples. I don't want to get too actually political, but this is what we saw during the Obama years. It was just, we saw this, even some from Obama himself. I'm not going to pretend we didn't. He was, when the midterm elections or whatever, and you can love Obama if you want, that's fine. But this is just an example of what happened when, the midterm elections happened and the Republicans just completely took over the Congress again. His response was, well, it's probably my fault because I didn't educate people enough about my platforms. Now, what's the assumption in that? It's very insulting. It's like, if you little people understood what I was trying to do for you, of course you'd be on board. Well, no, admit that there are people who disagree with you and that you have to work with and compromise and so forth, but we saw that kind of, even if you want to argue that that's this one time he did these other things, whatever. I'm not here to argue Obama with you. That was the driving message from the woke Hollywood, the ideologues of Hollywood. Anybody who's against this guy's clearly just a fringe because we are worshiping him all 8 years long, and it was ridiculous. And any time that a Bush won or a Trump won or whatever, just an absolute hissy fit. All the time. Anybody who's not against this guy is evil. You're a bunch of evil Nazis if you dare, agree with this. Biden just recently said in a speech about, he talked, the extreme MAGA people, going after Mickey Mouse for crying out loud. Just such a straw man, such an incredible straw man. You don't have to be a MAGA supporter or enthusiast to not want public schools teaching sexuality to children. That's all that's about, but we got to spin it this way and make sure. But we see that concept of anybody who is against us is either ignorant or evil. And if you're actually against us and you're evil, then you're just a fringe minority. You're just a fringe. We've seen that in recent comments. We saw this in, as I said, Biden trying to say, fringe, MAGA people or whatever. And you can support Biden, not support him, whatever. You can't deny what I just said. He actually said that. Chris Evans, his comment recently about the Buzz Lightyear. Anybody who was against this same-sex kiss in this movie, idiots, and they're gonna go extinct like the dinosaurs. And that there's just so few of you left, and we're just still having to put up with the few of you that's left, spouting your evil hatred or whatever. Eventually, you'll just all go extinct because we're progressing into our wonderful socialist utopia. That's the ideologues. I remember, Clark Gregg. One of the reasons I stopped supporting Clark Gregg as an artist was when he was in Captain Marvel, and I remember I was like, man, that stunk. I had no illusions that I knew he was, going to be of more liberal politics, whatever, that's fine. But I loved I still love the character Coulson. We'll talk about that in a second. But I liked his work. I liked the movies he had written and stuff like that. But then he was talking about the people who were standing against Captain Marvel, anybody who dared criticize it. And he said, must just be sad to be wandering toward the tar pits like that. Again, this idea that, oh, you're extinct. There's so few of you. You're just, oh, look at your little death throes there as you're dying out. That's what they desperately want to believe. They desperately want to believe anybody who opposes the ideology, they're on their way out, folks. They're on their way out. How's that working out for you politically? Supreme Court decisions recently, and if you say, well, that's just a fluke because no, it's that they overturned I think it was a conceal and carry gun ban in New York. The Florida people are not 100% in lockstep with you all the time. Get over it. Deal with it. Recognize again that there are well-meaning, well-informed, educated people who just don't agree with you, and that's okay. You'll never have decent conversations and compromises with anybody if you constantly other and try to dehumanize anybody who disagrees with you. And that gets them too, because that's one of the watchwords in leftist ideologue academics. Othering people or dehumanizing people. They see that as, that's what the right's done all the world over or whatever. Well, that's what they do to anybody who disagrees with them. You're just a Nazi who deserves to be punched. Don't talk to anybody who might disagree with you or have a varying opinion and whatnot. So Hollywood does this. We've seen Chris Evans do it. We've seen Mark Ruffalo do it. I should probably do a whole other video on how people have just forgotten how to play heroes and portray heroes and hold their personal lives up to a certain standard. That's not a thing anymore. It's just a role I played, whatever. This is why they're allowed to do it, though. We're letting them do it because people have this mantra, even people who don't agree with that and think that's horrible that they're doing that. But I can separate art from the artist. Even the way that's phrased is very elitist. Oh, I'm sorry that you're mad about that and that you can't watch that stuff anymore, but I can separate the artist from the art, so I can still enjoy their stories. And no, you're enabling. You're addicted. You're desperate for anything to still be able to watch their stories. Now, hold on before you freak out. I will acknowledge that there is a threshold that might vary from person to person. Okay? And one of the things, before I get to that threshold, one of the things, that statement too, that says, oh, well, I can separate the art from the artist, that implies that anybody who doesn't is just, oh, they're so emotional. They're so mad at that person for saying that political thing that they can't even watch any of their movies anymore. No. If I could not separate art from the artist, I choose not to separate art from the artist sometimes, and to a certain threshold. But if I was emotional about it, then I wouldn't be able to watch Captain America First Avenger or the Avengers movie. And I love those movies, still love those movies, would watch them anytime and celebrate them. It's not like I just can't even watch the franchise anymore. It's gotten me so worked up. No, that's very few people I know, one or two are maybe, but the rest of people are not saying that. we choose not to separate the art from the artist to the full on, just, you get a free pass degree, because that's just encouraging more of that bad behavior, and it's encouraging them to actively insult us and treat us horribly. Stop buying art from people who hate you. What's so wrong with that? Well, I can separate the art from the artist. Stop it. Now, obviously there's a threshold. I didn't really get any comments like this. I was expecting them, but I didn't really get any. I guess people just weren't thinking that through or whatever. But a lot of people were saying, well, separate art from the artist, this and that. Some people were saying it innocently enough. Other people were doing the haughty thing I'm talking about. But if you listen to the video I made recently, I talked about how I'm still watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, I haven't seen the last 2 seasons, but I'm still watching it. I still very much enjoy the writing. But I talked about how there's 1 or 2 little moments, especially during the Trump era, where the writers did just slip in that little comment, or whatever. And I know what it is. I caught it, especially on the second time through. That's not getting me up to the threshold where I have to stop watching the show. If they keep doing it, if they did it to the point where the story actually suffers, yeah, I'd stop watching it in a heartbeat. That's a deal breaker for me. So, okay, on the one hand, people are going to have different thresholds of tolerances and different things that they think do affect the story. But let's be honest, though. Let's not just say, well, people have different thresholds. Again, just as a free-for-all for anybody can do this. No, people are trying to say that Kenobi, there's no woke stuff in Kenobi at all. From the ground up, are you kidding me? Reva's whole character from the ground up was a woke token virtue signal. They made her not die. She was supposed to die first. No, she can't die. She has to, there has to be more screen time for her. The fact that Obi-Wan's going to spend time with Leia because it's not just about Luke. Yes, it is. Star Wars is all about Luke. Yes, Leia's got her place, but the way that they just played fast and loose with all the continuity, all of that, just to send the message. And if you don't think, well, I don't think they were, look at the people involved, for crying out loud. They were. They were. Now, I refused to watch the garbage Kenobi because I saw those deal breakers, so I can't debate specifics of each scene or each episode with you story arc wise, but these are pretty glaring deal breakers to me. People keep talking about, and people disagree with this. Hey, but the Dune really honored and respected the fans. I refused to give it a chance when I saw the gender swap casting they did. Not just because, you just couldn't get over that gender swap. No, I don't think I should get over that gender swap casting, because especially something like Dune, if you really look at Herbert's story, it's built upon the clash and the conflict between masculinity and femininity, and the fact that the Fremen are a very masculine force. That's as well as the Mentats and whatnot, against the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild on the other side and so forth. This is, to play with something as simple as gender swapping. No, that tells me that even if it's just that one little thing, you're willing to virtue signal, you're willing to sacrifice things in your story. It's not like a one-liner, that zinged past and it didn't affect the structure of the story. So yes, there's room for people to have different thresholds. I'm not saying you watch this show and not that show, so you're dead to me. No, but I am saying we need to not go too free with that whole, well, people have different thresholds, and hey, you like what you like, and I like what I like. That's how we continue to get crap. That's how we continue to get garbage. That's how we continue to get people going, well, I separate the art from the artist, and I can watch anything. No, you're desperate to be able to watch anything, because you're addicted. You're a consumer, and you can't stop. We need to be a little more strict. Acknowledge there's a spectrum, acknowledge there's different thresholds, but people need to straighten up and stop watching this garbage. They will continue to ruin Star Wars, to turn it over and continue down this progressivist ideologue storytelling path as long as you keep watching it. That last episode of Kenobi had so many great numbers or whatever, on Netflix, and so many people are talking about the problems with it. Well, because a lot of you watching the problems just still watched it, so you could gripe about it. I've talked about the problems there before. Stop it. Cut it out. Cold turkey if you need to. If you need to be like somebody going off a drug, cold turkey if you need to. End it. There's so many better things to watch, than whatever woke ideologue drivel you're watching, whatever series or whatever. Anyway, that's all. I can go on for longer, but I want to keep these relatively short. So thanks for watching. You can be mad at me now, but I'm just dropping truth. I'll talk to you later, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.